Okay, hello everybody. Oh, wait, this is not in. Now, the red light wasn't on. Glad I saw that in time. Hope you're all doing well. Just had a little bit of news I wanted to bring you. First of all, there was a guest speaking from Oklahoma on George Galloway's show, and she was saying that the Ukrainians are out there in Oklahoma being trained to use Patriot missiles. So make no mistake, they are going to escalate this, not only with tanks. When the tanks fail, I can eventually see that they will be sending aircraft to give Ukraine air cover to support the tanks. So this thing is definitely escalating. And I despair at the cavalier attitude of the journalists in this country and how there's no debate. When you look back at things like the Iraq War or even Syria in this country, I think it was William Hague and David Cameron who were trying to push that one, who were very, very frustrated when MPs didn't support it. There was a lot of pushback at operations in Syria. There's no pushback this time. The establishment have closed in. It's more clear than ever that all the newspapers, the media pundits, the political parties are on the same side, and they are all dedicated to this highly destructive, life-threatening situation for everyone. There's no way Russia's going to take a defeat. Hearing that German tanks are on the way, again, is a red rag to a bull, because no matter what people think of the various narratives with World War II, in Russia, apparently, and people who've lived there have told me that the World War II is a massive part of the culture. There's always some rerun of a World War II movie or a documentary or a drama on television. You know, people are still very connected to that part of their history. So it is like a red rag to a bull when Germany's getting involved. As I've said before, this isn't a new point I've made. It makes me very, very annoyed, because when these pundits in this country are taking rah, 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 let's support Ukraine, let's bash Putin, let's win this, we have to win it, it won't be their sons and daughters fighting. They want Americans, particularly young Trump-supporting Americans from the Bible Belt, who they will speak disparagingly about as deplorables and hillbillies. I'm not saying that I respect those people, but we know the media and the scum elite in this country don't. They speak disparagingly about these people until they want them to be cannon fodder in their war, or to use Polish people, as Soros wants to do, and Eastern Europeans to fight a war that is no one's business but the elites. The shares for Raytheon and Northrop Grumman are up about 35%. This is an absolute wonderful time for the arms manufacturers. Of course, they'll be delighted that they're sending tanks, because they'll get destroyed and then they can supply more. Although I do wonder about these Abrams tanks. Aren't they a little bit passé when they're using them in Iraq? I wonder how effective they are on the steppe with either the frozen earth or the mud as it gets warm in Ukraine. You know, and remember the stories about the British troops being so ill-equipped in Iraq that their mothers had to buy them equipment and send it out to them. They didn't have appropriate equipment. I really do think the people who are so-called in power just don't have a clue what they're biting off here. It's absolutely ridiculous. On that point, I did hear, should I go into that next? I just want to cover this story, actually, and it's quite interesting. Do you remember that one of the visitors to Epstein, I think it was the house in Manhattan, was Ehud Barak, who was the former Prime Minister of Israel? Yes, it's got it here. This is from, let's see, this is from Press TV, although it was also reported in Haaretz. So it's not just Press TV is Iranian, but it was reported in Haaretz as well. Epstein linked former Israeli Prime Minister's company, which is called Toka, I think it's his former company, can alter CCTV footage. Listen to this technology. Tel Aviv-based newspaper Haaretz revealed how Toka, a company founded by the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and the Israeli military cyber chief Yaron Rosen, has mastered terrifying technology capable of locating security cameras or webcams, hacking into them, monitoring their live feeds, and altering them without a trace. Why would they want to invent something like that? Seems that then any sort of operations to be carried out and the evidence could be either erased or doctored in real time. So you can plant evidence on people and you can remove evidence. The company has contracts with Tel Aviv alone valued at $6 million and wants to expand its operations further. I just thought it was that. It says they have purely state-level clients, including law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Why would law enforcement and intelligence agencies want to falsify? You see, the intelligence services are the enemy. They work with government, they work with the elite, so they must be doing all the crime. Everyone always says it's the intelligence services, Operation Gladio, etc., behind all these terror attacks, and that seems to be proof that they are. Because surely if they want the truth, they'd want to preserve all these webcams for pristine evidence, but no, they want to be able to doctor them in real time. Thought that was really quite frightening. Okay, I have something up here. This is Poland's natal chart. Poland, born on November the 14th, 1918, time 11:30 a.m. Interesting that Mars in Capricorn is on a Capricorn ascendant. I think that says a lot about the kind of grit, determination, resilience, this kind of fighting spirit of the Poles, and that they are kind of a very pragmatic people, but also a tough and assertive people, but maybe also a little bit reserved, somewhat like maybe a lot of the Europeans, because the Germans and the Brits also have that kind of natural reserve and boundaries, right? Interesting here that Jupiter and Pluto and Cancer in the 7th house of the enemy, and they do regard in Poland Russia as their mortal enemy. You know, it's been the big bad bear, and it's probably been the enemy going a long way back in time, because at one stage, you know, we had the Polish-Lithuanian Empire, and I'm guessing the Russian Empire would have been someone they vied with. So they do have this issue and this animosity towards Russia, particularly after what happened during the Soviet era. Right, so if you have a look here, you can see there's a T-square. You've got Saturn in Leo, Uranus in Aquarius, and Venus and Sun in Scorpio. All of these are being triggered by transiting Uranus, which is currently about 14 degrees of Taurus. But so as it moves forward and we come up to sort of March, April, it'll be strongly triggering these Scorpio planets, Saturn in Leo, and also Uranus in Aquarius, and Saturn here being in the 8th house. This has been the house of leadership. So I can see Poland becoming a leading force in terms of NATO. Now we know when they talk about NATO attacking Russia, it's not going to be the Portuguese or the Netherlands army. It's basically the United States, United Kingdom, and I think it's going to be Poland. Now, some people have said that Poland may want to take back territory, including Lviv, of Ukraine, in order to recreate its old borders. And I believe that Poland are working strongly with Lithuania. So some people say that. So Poland might become aggressive and try and take Ukrainian territory to the north. Russia will take some from the south. Ukraine will be Balkanized. And it's part of a Polish dream to kind of reestablish the Polish-Lithuanian Empire. Now, I wonder, in a world where all these leaders are from the World Economic Forum and we have globalism, if there's any place for this empire building. Is it really what they want? Wouldn't the Polish Prime Minister just be a World Economic Forum puppet? So I'm not quite sure about that theory. But for some reason that I don't quite know, maybe Poland would want to be aggressive towards Lithuania. As you can see, you know, Poland, they're tough. They're ready to fight. They're ready to defend their territory. But something worries me because, as we know, Neptune, Pluto and Uranus, Uranus was moving through Taurus during the Second World War. Neptune was at the end of Virgo at the Second World War, and now it's at the end of Pisces, so it will be conjuncting the Sun of Poland, and will be moving to square Mars and the Ascendant as it moves into Aries. And we also know that Pluto is now at the end of Capricorn. During World War II, it was at the end of Cancer. So with all those planets replicating what was going on in World War II, I think it would be ill-advised for Poland to get involved. I think Poland may end up sacrificing territory rather than gaining territory, and it's better staying out of it. But I can see that, you know, the leader's going to get a lot of kudos for coming on board with NATO. It's going to get lots of support from America, and maybe certain parts of the Polish electorate will support that. I'm not sure. Although with Uranus opposite these planets, maybe there's going to be a very, very big cohort of the electorate that don't want it. And the leaders talking tough might not be to everyone's taste. I think it's a very dangerous move for Poland. Let's watch Poland, because I think it's going to be a key country as this conflict becomes more and more intense. Now, from what I saw in the chart for 2024, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a battle for Kiev next year, not this year, as maybe Russia eventually tries to make the move. But as I say, I don't think it'll be long before they're sending in their aircraft and everything. But according to what Mike Rivero used to say, a lot of this equipment, the tanks, the aircraft that's being made for the US government is substandard. They were assuming that it would never really be used, or maybe only be used against sort of tin pot dictator countries, and then they'd never really know that it was substandard. So I'm interested to know how all this equipment stands up. We don't really know how all the Russian equipment stands up, but what we do know is in the UK, with the depletion of the manufacturing base, they're totally dependent on Russian inputs in terms of raw materials, and on China making the parts, and China an ally of Russia. So I think it's a precarious position where you want to run a war, but the countries you're going to be at war with and their allies are the ones that make your resources to make the weapons. It seems to be something that our leaders with all their degrees going to Oxford don't ever think of. I don't know, it's crazy. So yes, so I just wanted to bring you that. So we were talking about Poland, we talked about that. Yeah, I think that's all for now, guys. I just thought I'd quickly bring you that hot off the press. Hope you're all doing well. Take care.